All right. Welcome to the first episode of the 2025 NFL season, Busted Coverage Podcast. Just me and JT today, but first episode, we're going to be going over the Saints. We're going to talk about how they did last year, what we think they're going to do this year, their rosters, coach, and our picks for the breakout player, and then we're going to, at the end, pick our over-under on the wins. So, JT, introduce yourself to the podcast. Say what's up.
What's up? I'm JT. I'm part of this podcast. Let's get after it.
All right, so the first thing is really just talking about last year, how they did, just anything you want to talk about for that. Just you can go ahead with your notes, and then I'll go second.
I mean, the problem was they were just terrible last year for the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, this team we're talking about today. Their coach was bad. I mean, top to bottom, their roster. I don't think their roster was terrible last year. I mean, they had that hot start with Derek Carr when they were 2-0, and he stopped all the killings in New Orleans, But then after that, it all kind of fell apart when Derek Carr got hurt, and then they had no answer at QB. Spencer Rattler wasn't ready yet, and Dennis Allen was never the answer for the New Orleans Saints, the head coach. But, yeah, that's kind of what I think happened last year.
Yeah, 5-12 record, multiple injuries for Carr. Rattler was clearly terrible, not ready at all. Olave didn't really do much, played half the season. His season was tainted with injuries also. Kamara, though, did have career-high rushing yards that year, which was a surprise to see.
That was wild.
The pass game, just horrendous. Don't expect it to be much different this year. Another bright spot was Demario Davis. He was 16th in tackles, total tackles last year. So it was a lot of bad, barely any good. Hopefully they can get it done this year, but I don't expect it to happen. So let's go into this year. Roster, star players, offense and defense, key additions maybe. Anything you have?
Yeah, well, I mean, for the roster, some of the additions they made, they brought in Brandon Cooks, wide receiver, Will Clapp to help that offensive line. Justin Reed, who's I think he's a really good player in the NFL, big time safety. And then re-signing Chase Young is a big move. I mean he hasn't produced yet at the NFL level like everyone thought he would, but you never know, right? He's super talented. Baby can put together. And then in the draft, I think they drafted 3 guys who can have an impact. Calvin Banks, the tackle out of Texas, I think was one of the better offensive linemen in the draft, trying to help whichever young quarterback they do decide to play, because they're going to need it. Whichever quarterback they do decide to play, they're going to need as much help as they can get, whether it's – and then obviously the quarterback out of Louisville, Tyler Straw. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'm not the brightest light in the house. Yeah. But, I mean, that was a huge addition. I don't think he's very good. I don't think Spencer Rattler is very good. And then Devin Neal, the running back out of Kansas. I'm a Colorado fan. And watching him just completely tear through the Colorado defense last year was heartbreaking and ended our season pretty much and eliminated us from the Big 12 championship contention and playoff contention. So I think he could be solid after sitting a couple years behind Kamara, be a decent. And then Jonas Skinner, the safety out of Arizona, I think could be a big play machine alongside Justin Reed.
Yeah, that QB situation's definitely not looking too hot. Tyler Shuck, I also don't really agree with that draft choice. He's already older than a lot of the first and second year guys. Kelvin Banks, that was a great draft choice in my opinion.
I really like that pick. Yeah. I think he's fantastic.
And then for their star players, it's really just Kamara. I wouldn't really say Olave. I'd say Rashid Shaheed is wide receiver 1 over Olave. Defense, Justin Reed was a great signing. He was amazing for the Chiefs. Yeah. And I think he could be their best player this year. I haven't met my MVP, but we'll talk about that in a sec. But really, they didn't do much else in the free agency. It was a lot of draft. Mm-hmm. And all it really was, Brandon Cooks, Justin Reed, re-signing Chase Young, like you said. That's really all they did. They didn't have the most eventful offseason, which was really a surprise to me. But we can go into coach. Kellen Moore, Doug Nussmeier, their new offensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, new D coordinator, completely new coaching staff. What are your thoughts on Kellen Moore this year?
Well, I mean, Kellen Moore coming off a Super Bowl, coming off a winning culture in Philadelphia. I think he's primed to have some success as a head coach. I think it might be difficult, right, to start off with a terrible quarterback situation. I think year one is going to could go pretty bad. I think he's going to shock some people, but reality, I could also see him winning maybe like 2 games. But I think he's going to shock some people. And if he doesn't, I think that's when they reload and they go out and get a quarterback next year in the draft, and that's when Kellen Moore proves himself as a head coach. So I think this year could be tough for Kellen Moore, but I am a Kellen Moore believer.
Yeah, I'm also a Kellen Moore believer. I believe in this coaching staff, but this roster is just terrible. I don't see how they get any more than 5 or 6 wins. But Kellen Moore, obviously coming off a Super Bowl, he led that Eagles offense, so anything can happen really. So now we're going to go ahead and go into our breakout player who we think is going to go from either as a rookie and have a great year or go from having a not so good year last year to having a breakout year this year. So JT, who's your breakout player for the Saints this year?
Well, I think Saints fans are hoping the breakout player is whichever quarterback is the starter. Like that's what they're going to need, because I truly don't think that this roster is completely terrible top to bottom. I think the biggest question mark is that quarterback position. But I think a guy that needs to have a big year is Chris Olave, and I wrote him down for my breakout player. I think he has to solidify himself as a top receiver option. Prove to the GM, prove to the Saints office and Saints fans that he is a valuable wide receiver, because he has yet to show that. I think he's been very, very underwhelming so far in his NFL career for a guy with so much talent. So I wrote down Chris Olave as my breakout player. I think that's something that the Saints are going to need if they're going to have any success.
Yeah, definitely. Olave came out of Ohio State. Everyone thought he was going to be a beast, wide receiver 1. Hasn't really had the QB production. Derek Carr was all right, but he never really threw to him. So hopefully we can see a good season out of him. I've got the guy out of Texas, Calvin Banks.
Yeah.
I think he'll have a great season. He's going to be, I think, on the left side of the line.
Yeah. Wait, I got their depth chart right now. Yeah, he's listed as their left tackle number 1 right now on their first official depth chart.
Yeah, I think he'll have a great season protecting Tyler Shuck. And I loved him at Texas. He was my second favorite offensive lineman out of the draft. And I love the pick, honestly. So hopefully we'll see him break out this year. I believe in it. And I think that new coaching staff will be able to help him thrive too. So Now it's MVP. I said earlier my MVP is Justin Reed. I think he'll have a great season. I think he was great on the Chiefs. I think he's one of the best safeties in the league. And this was a great signing for the Saints. And I think he'll really help this defense all year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Justin Reed was a huge signing, probably their best move in the whole entire offseason. It's either him or the addition of Calvin Banks for sure was the only 2 moves that made this offseason that were somewhat productive, made them better. And I mean, yeah, I think Justin Reed's gonna have a big year. But for my MVP, I went Kool-Aid McKinstry. I mean, I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is gonna prove to everyone that he's one of the top cornerbacks in the whole entire NFL. I'm a huge fan of him ever since he was in Alabama. I don't know if it's just because he's the coolest name ever, but I'm a big Kool-Aid McKinstry fan. I like what he can do, and I think Justin Reed's going to help him out, just take a little bit of pressure off him in that defense. And then, of course, if Cam Jordan and Chase Young can get after the quarterback, who knows? Maybe that secondary, both of those guys could have big years.
Yeah, I was definitely between Justin Reed and Kool-Aid, but I had to go Reed. So now what's the over-under for the Saints this year?
The over-under is 6.5. As that is the over-under win total for the New Orleans Saints.
That's high.
That is pretty high. And I wrote down I think that they're going to get the over. I think that Kellen Moore is going to get every single drop out of whichever quarterback he can. I think they're going to win 7 games this year, because I mean their roster has some talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, you look at the receivers that Shuck's going to be throwing to. He's got Chris Olave, Raheem Shaheed, and Brandon Cooks. Those are 3 pretty solid receivers. 3 guys who could be solid. And then Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill as well, with Alvin Kamara and Devin Neal. I think that they have a chance to be pretty okay on the offensive side of the ball, especially with an offensive-minded head coach like Kellen Moore. And then defensively, I mean, they're not super great. They got Cam Jordan. They got Justin Reed, Kool-Aid McKinstry, but then after that, they got some pretty big holes in that defense. So I think if whichever quarterback they decide to go with, if they can get everything out of him, I think they can get the 7. But I really wouldn't be shocked if I'm completely wrong and they win like 2 games.
Yeah, I could definitely see them winning 2. That's my prediction, 2 or 3, maybe 4. I'm definitely taking the under on 6.5. That's really, I hate this roster completely. it's really just the running back and not even the wide receiver one. It's really just the running back and a couple guys on defense. And that's about it. And this quarterback situation is just not good. I don't
Yeah.
believe in Shuck. Rattler was horrible last year, and their third is Jake Hayner.
Yeah.
He came in for maybe one game last year. He looked horrible too. I don't see this team getting near 6 or 7 wins. So I'll take the under on that.
Yeah, I mean, another reason why I got the over is they got the third easiest schedule in the NFL. So I think that could help them out, especially with a unproven quarterback and a terrible quarterback. And I think another reason why I chose that is just because how much of a believer I am of Kellen Moore.
Yeah. I just don't see how they can get to that win threshold. I think they're the worst team in their division also, and I think some of the teams that they're playing this year are going to take big leaps. But we'll see. You never know. It could happen. We've seen crazier things.
Yeah,
So-
we'll see. And I think 2 wins wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Bring home Arch Manning maybe, or
Yeah,
that next year's quarterback class could be really deep. So who
definitely.
knows if they don't win a lot of games, it might not be the worst thing in the world for Saints fans.
All right, well, that's the preview for the Saints. Busted Coverage 2025 Saints preview. We'll be doing this with every other team for the NFL.
32.
So,
Got 31 more to go.
yep, there's episode 1. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace.